It's mid-August. It's early morning, as you can tell. I just woke up. I have my coffee. And I'm taking a little stroll to go check on the elderberry bushes. It's that time of year where most of the herbs I forage are all dried up and there's nothing left to pick except for the elderberries. I think the last time I made a video, she had just had her kittens. She ended up moving them and we never found them. And I don't know if they're still alive or not. She disappears sometimes, but she comes up for her meals. We have spent hours and hours looking for her kittens, and we even put an AirTag tracker on her collar because we thought that that might lead us to her kitties. It did not. It wouldn't work properly. It didn't track her properly. But see, now I see her going. Wait, she's going in here. Are there kitties in there? I don't think so. I had a feeling she put them in a drainage pipe like that, but we've looked in all the ones close to us and we have not seen them. So, first batch of kitties became part of the circle of life, I think. We are here at the elderberry bush, and you can see a lot of these are still green. Most of what's on this bush are still green. I'm at a pretty high altitude, but some of these are ripe, and you can tell they're ripe if you take the that film off the outside and they're really black and really dark blue, dark purple, then you know that they are ripe. There are some myths surrounding elderberry that I kind of want to bust real quick. Number one, you're gonna die if you eat this. You won't die. There are some cyanogenic glycosides in elderberry, but it is primarily in the leaf. We're not gonna use that. In the stems, we're not gonna use those. And in the seeds, which we are not going to ingest. Myth number two, you have to cook elderberry in order to use it. You actually don't. Shh, don't tell anyone. But there's a way easier way. If you don't want to have to cook elderberry and make a syrup and have it be a whole thing, there's some really easy ways you can utilize elderberry that are just as beneficial and much easier. One of those things is fermented honey, and that's what we're going to make today. It's my favorite way to use elderberry because we're actually going to do double duty with this. We're not just going to use these berries once, we're going to use them twice, and I'll show you how. Now, red elderberries are poisonous. So if you have red elderberries, you do not want to use those. Use the blue or black elderberries. Make sure they're ripe. The green ones are toxic. You can actually eat an elderberry. You just don't want to ingest a whole bunch of seeds. To me, they're not delicious. I don't like them like that, but they are delicious when you process them a little bit. So I'm gonna pick a few of these. There's not a whole lot ripe on here right now, but I'm gonna pick a few. We're gonna take them home, and a little bit later in this video, I'm gonna show you how to make the most delicious, super simple elderberry honey. I had to change my shirt. It's already getting hot. We're supposed to have a heat wave this week, and I can feel it, which I'm not complaining about because I know that fall and winter are coming very soon. So I set my elderberries aside. We will come back up to do the honey in just a little bit, but I have to go milk the goats and do the chores. I'll just bring you along with me. On our shop build, we have roofing. So hopefully the roofing is gonna go on here starting this week, which is really exciting. And I'm picking out paint colors already. Also feels exciting. So we are gonna go with this. It looks a lot lighter on this camera. We might make it a little darker, but we're gonna go with a dark green with black trim. We have black, you can't see them, but we have black windows up there. And then our front door is black. We want this to just sort of like sink back into the forest. We don't want it to really pop out. We just kind of want to make it as discreet as possible. So the colors are kind of mimicking the forest here. It has been such a long time since I've done a YouTube video that I do have another development, which is really exciting. And it has to do with our Polish Tatra sheepdogs. We think Zelda is going to have puppies the end of September. She was bred a couple weeks ago. Her heat cycle just ended. If we're lucky, we will have puppies the end of September. They did lock like 5 times. But her heat cycle just ended, so I'm just watching for changes in her teats, and fingers crossed, we'll have our first litter of Polish Tatra sheepdogs. So that's very exciting. So this has been the summer of really big plans and not as much action as we had hoped. So my goat barn remodel has not happened yet, so hopefully we will get into our shop, be living there, and then we'll take care of the barn remodels. But right now, trying to get moved takes precedent over everything else in our world. Oh, and this girl, she has one leg that she likes to hold up when I milk her. But as long as I have a rope on it, she doesn't lift it, and I can milk without her foot ending up in the pail. So I'm just gonna sit here and pick all of my elderberries off the stems. I don't wash mine, but you can if it feels like they're dusty or you just are the kind of person who feels more comfortable after rinsing them. And then we'll pick them all off of the stems and get started with making the honey after we do that. I have a beautiful bowl of elderberries. Let's take these inside. Let's go ahead and finish up with our elderberry honey. I have really thirsty workers. I need to fill this big, huge 5-gallon jug of water and take it down to our workers because it is hot and they are not loving life right now. So I'm gonna put this down so you can see my hands. Okay, I'm just gonna put my elderberries in a jar. Don't worry if there are a few little teeny tiny stems. It's almost impossible to get all the stems off of your elderberries. So my jar is not all the way full. It's a little bit more than half full, and that's plenty fine. We actually want enough space for this honey to get in between all the berries and really get in there and kind of like saturate the berries. My raw honey is a little bit crystallized, which is fine, but I'm gonna have to use a spoon and get it in here. If your honey is nice and runny, this is gonna be really fast, but mine is a little bit crystallized, so it's gonna take some time for this to work its way down through all my berries. It will, and I'm gonna facilitate that a little bit by putting it in the sun for a little bit. Okay, so my berries are in my jar with my honey that is slightly crystallized, so it's a pretty hot day. I'm gonna find a good spot where this won't fall. I'm gonna set this in the sun over here and let my honey melt down into my berries, and then I'm gonna top it off again with more honey and continue to do that until it's all the way full with honey. So here's my honey. It's starting to drip down in. I'm gonna be just probably over the next day kind of topping this off. So I'm just gonna talk you through the next steps on this, which are so simple. All you're gonna do is maybe once a day, twice a day, if you're super on it, you're gonna flip your jar over. I like to put this on a little plate because it does leak a little bit, and just continue that process while this sits. It's gonna get really nice, dark, sort of purpley. You might, when you open it to check on it, see even some bubbles because this is kind of fermenting a little bit from the moisture in those elderberries, and that's totally fine. So once this has sat for 2 to 4 weeks, you're gonna strain it. And then when you strain it, save these berries, because what you're gonna do with these elderberries next is you're gonna make a tincture with them. And you're basically just gonna put them in a fresh jar, cover them with some vodka, and let them sit for 6 weeks, and you've got a tincture. Now I'm gonna walk you through this whole process of straining and then making the tincture and all of that in the winter apothecary class that's coming up August 25th at 2 p.m. Pacific. It's a live class, and the recording goes out to everybody who's registered, so if you can't join live, that's okay. And there's also a beautiful recipe book that will come to you as a downloadable PDF So you can gather up all your ingredients, you can follow along with the video, and have the ebook there for support for you. So if you haven't registered yet for the Winter Apothecary, that information is in the description of this video. For those of you who have registered, I'm really excited about this class and I can't wait to see you there. This honey is going to sit and be my example honey as we walk through this whole process of making elderberry honey and elderberry tincture. In addition to this elderberry honey, we are going to be making some teas, some tinctures. We're going to be making cough syrup and fire cider that won't make you gag. So join me for the Winter Apothecary. I look forward to seeing you all there. And we'll be back here on YouTube next week. If you're not subscribed, you can find that little button too and hit that if you want.